STEM City USA Healthy Doses series is your passport to a balanced lifestyle. Hosted by Dr. Tiffany Anderson and presented in the Boston Scientific Auditorium. And now, Dr. Tiffany Anderson.
Hey, happy Saturday. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Healthy Doses. My name is Rayondon Kennedy, and I will be your moderator for today's show. And today's show is streaming live in the metaverse of STEM City USA, and it is brought to you by Boston Scientific. Healthy Doses is a show that we put together to help you be the best version of yourself, to help you be the best you possible. And we do that by listening to the guidance, the wisdom of Dr. Tiffany Anderson. Dr. Anderson, good morning.
Good morning, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing so well. I'm so happy to see you this morning. Doc, I know you have a great show for us. Can you tell us what we're talking about today?
Yes. So good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Healthy Doses. So today we are talking about body image. I know it's a big topic for many of us. If we are living in this society specifically, I'm sure body image and what that looks like in our lives has come up often, right? And so first, I just want to begin with an artist that is known for her body positivity. She is known for being one of a kind of coming on the scene that looks different, that may be expected to kind of dress a certain way or be a certain way because of her body type. But instead, she is her authentic self and just exudes self-love. So who I am talking about is Lizzo, who is an American artist. She is also considered a singer, a rapper, and even an actress as of late. So a few quotes that I just wanted to start with from her as she speaks about herself and her body positivity. One quote, she says, I'm all about body positivity and self-love because I believe that we can save the world if we first save ourselves. I love creating shapes with my body, and I love normalizing the dimples in my butt and the lumps in my thighs and my back fat and my stretch marks. I love normalizing my black elbows. Next, she speaks about not hiding, right? So she says, I have nothing to hide. There's no shame anymore. I just post myself. You can like it, you don't have to like it, or you can take it as I am, but you don't have to love me. Lastly, she speaks about self-love being a choice. She said, I don't think that loving myself is a choice. I think it is a decision that has to be made for survival. It was in my case. Loving myself was a result of answering two things. Do I want to live? Because this is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Or are you going to just have a life of emptiness, self-hatred, and self-loathing? And I choose to live. So I had to accept myself. And so I wanted just to provide three actually great examples of what positivity looks like and how you can be your authentic self regardless of societal standards and what they expect you to be and how they expect you to kind of show up in the world. And so we'll talk more about that after our commercial break from our sponsors, Boston Scientific.
Anderson. I am so excited to get into today's topic because I think it is of value for everyone. I know when you kind of pitched it in, and I know it's a major talking point for women and for teens, but it's also a talking point for men. And I know we're going to get into that because it's not often seen as an issue that men deal with, and it absolutely is. And so I do want to get into that. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that if you're listening today, you want to join in the conversation. If you are on a laptop, take your phone, scan that QR code right above Dr. Anderson's head, and it will take you to a link where you can submit questions to us. We'll see it live time, and you could be anonymous. We don't have to know who you are, or you can add your name, and we give you a shout out. If you're watching online or on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you could drop a line in a comment, and we can throw it up on the screen, and we can give you a shout out, but we can also converse with you. And if you're in STEM City, there's also a way you can do it. There's a chat button right on the left-hand side. Go ahead, click that, and join into the metaverse with everybody that's watching. And you can communicate with us there as well. So we'll be looking for you. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear your comments, and we want to answer your questions. So if you got anything for us, reach out to us. We'd love to hear it. So, Dr. Anderson, let's define body image so we're all on the same page. We all hear about it. It's always a major target point, hot topic button. Obviously, Lizzo, one of the biggest stars in the world right now. That's kind of like her whole thing of being body positive. Let's jump in because something you said when you was quoting Lizzo, and I think this is why this topic is very important, is she said loving yourself is a choice. And I think that's why we need to talk about this topic, because there's a lot of people who didn't take that route, who didn't make the choice to live and to love themselves. And that can become dangerous. And that's why this topic is important. So let's go ahead and define body image.
Perfect. So when we think about body image, know that body image isn't just always related to your weight, right? Or your size. It's about, what you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror, right? What you picture yourself in your mind. Is that congruent, right? What we see, what you see, is that congruent, right? It includes how you feel about your appearance, what you think about your body as a whole, right? So your weight, your size, like your weight or your height. It's how you typically feel just within your skin, right? It also includes how you behave as a result of the thoughts and feelings that you have surrounding your body image. So a person can have a positive or negative body image, right? It just depends on where they are in life. But the overall consensus is how you feel in your skin, what comes up for you when you look in the mirror, right? The kind of language that you use when describing yourself, whether there's folks around or not, right? When you're looking in the mirror, what words, what language are you saying aloud, right? Are you consistently critiquing yourself, saying what you can lose, what would look better, what we would change if we could? All of those things, right, are included in the way that one perceives their own overall body. Ray, did you want to add something?
Sorry, I thought you was gonna keep rolling.
I'm like, you want
And this is live TV, y'all.
I can break it down, but I just
but that's what I was going to ask you to do, to break it down, because there are different types. There's different ways that we interpret and kind of define body image. And so let's go into some of those types of body images.
Yes.
The types of body images.
Yes, perfect. So the various types of body image. So first we have our perceptual body image. So it's the way you see your body. For example, the way you see your body is not always correct, right? It may not be an accurate representation of what you actually look like. So for example, we can get like mixed pregnancy brain, mixed perceptions or mixed experiences, right? So you can have one person say, "Oh, like you look great," and then the other person say, like, "Oh, not so much," right? So This with the perceptual, again, it's all about the way you see your body. So you may perceive yourself as being overweight when in reality you're underweight, right? So what we see often with like eating disorders is that kind of discrepancy with a person believing that they are the opposite of what they are, in fact, right? So what they see in the mirror is not an accurate representation of what is actually like how they are actually presenting. Next, we have um, affective body image, right? So it's the way you feel about your body. Okay? So this is likely to change on a day-to-day basis, right? So it can be impacted by your energy levels. It can be impacted by your moods, whether someone that day comments on your body, whether the way your clothes fit that day, and so on. For me, it's always was a big thing around hair. Like the hair had to kind of fit the outfit, right? Black women in their hair. So that's something that would just be an example, right? Effective is just that it can change depending on how you feel in that moment about yourself. So this may result in having some days where you may feel really confident and beautiful, and then other days where you feel more insecure because of, again, the various examples that I gave you, right? Next, we have cognitive body image. So this is the way you think about your body. Right? So, for example, individuals can think negatively about their body and can become consumed with those thoughts, right? So this is all cognitive, all in here. It's all about your thoughts, um, because your thoughts impact your moods, impact your behavior, right? This is how that can show up. So you may spend a lot of time thinking about what to eat, how often to exercise, how many calories to eat, what clothes to kind of cover up and disguise certain problem areas that you would consider problem areas, um, and and so on. So certain things that like complement your body, certain clothing that you would believe that complements your body, opposed to kind of covering up certain areas, right? So cognitive is all about what you think about your body, and the ways in which you kind of control certain behaviors around like what you eat, counting calories, exercising, all those things, right? Um, Next, we have behavioral body image, and this is our last one, right? So it's all about the behaviors in which you engage in as a result of your body image. So, for example, following like a certain diet, avoiding certain foods, spending a lot of time in the gym. Um, uh, for some, is like counting calories, photoshopping images, right? These are the behaviors in which you kind of take part in, surrounding how you feel about yourself and your body image, right? Um, so sometimes it can lead to more extreme measures, in order to meet kind of these unattainable goals, right? And we can get more into that, but that is a big part, is that kind of behavioral body image and how that kind of shows up in our lives as well.
So that's a lot of different ways that we take body images, and I know we're going to dive into it. Uh, but why does it matter? Why does how we see ourselves? Why does it matter how we what we think about our body image? Why does that matter as far as how we operate day to day, our moods, our attitude, our confidence? Why is it? What is? How does body image impact that?
Yeah. So we took all those examples, right, of the types of body image. It really covers so much of who we are every single day, right? It covers our behaviors, our cognitions, right? Our perceptions of ourselves, how we show up in the world, all those things. And so if we just consider that, we recognize that body image is a huge factor in almost everything we do. So individuals, particularly women with positive body image, are more likely to have good physical and mental health, right? because naturally someone with poor body image, it's going to impact your overall well-being just naturally because of how much time and energy it consumes, right? And so I'm going to get into, um, you know, just recognize that this is for men and women, but the research shows that it is impacted by women the most um, at this time. I also think that also means that men in society aren't given the platform to really kind of speak about body image, because I think that number would change. But I think because of society and the way women are expected to show up and be a certain way, it would naturally consume or impact us a bit more. Um, but girls and women with negative thoughts and feelings about their bodies are more likely to develop certain mental health issues like eating disorders. That's a big one, of course, right? And depression, even anxiety. And so, um, you know, research shows that folks that are dissatisfied with their bodies um, may be the reason why men and women may be dealing with depression. And again, with men, it's oftentimes they are suffering in silence, right? And that they're not even given the space to say certain things out loud, whereas women are given the space and expected um, to either speak about it or at least have dealt with it because of societal pressures and their beauty standards, right? Because it's all geared towards women, but that does not mean a lot of it's geared towards women, but it does not mean that men are not impacted. And it does not mean that men are not watching and being exposed to the very same things we are, because they are, right? They are just not given the freedom and the platform to say certain things. Um, okay, so we'll get a little bit into that. And so, you know, in regards to folks that may be dealing with negative body image, it can lead to low self-esteem, which can affect all areas of your life, as we know, right? You may want to be around certain people, but because of this idea of this obsession of what you look like or how others will perceive you, um, you're unable to just kind of be, like I said, yourself. You're unable to kind of show up in certain spaces without overthinking or not being present in the moment because you're so consumed about how you feel about you, right? And then that energy transfers to everyone around you. Like, are you closed off? Are you isolating? Are you avoiding certain certain like parties or events because of the way you feel about yourself? How does that then translate to your relationships, right? Whether interpersonal or intimate. What does that look like, right? So their overall gist is body image is so important because it is who you are, right? And it truly impacts every aspect of your life and the way that you interact with others and the way you show up in your day-to-day activities.
I think self-love is kind of the word we're looking for. When you talk about body image, you said it is the way you view yourself. And, if you don't love yourself, how can others appropriately or accurately love you the way that you need to be loved? And so I think the body image part is a really a big part of that self-love conversation. And, you quoted it from Lizzo, but, part of the reason that we said this is a major topic is because in that quote, Lizzo said, "I chose to live." She chose to override the negativity that was being brought down on her and things that surrounded what people were saying about her and how it affected her body image.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who didn't make that choice.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're having this conversation to give you the tools and then teach you how can we get to a place of like Lizzo and be able to override all those external stimulants, if you will.
Yeah.
And so let's kind of talk about some of those stimulants when we talk about what factors, what's telling us, what's programming us to feel a certain way, because it's not all internal. Most of the things
Right.
are external. And so let's
Right.
talk about some of those factors that are impacting and influencing our thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Great question. So, yes, you made a great point around self-love and the importance of it, and just truly being grateful for who you are and what you bring to the table and to society. And on the other note, we recognize that um, folks didn't come into the world not liking their bodies, not liking themselves. They were influenced constantly from the moment they entered the society, right? There was a microscope placed on bodies, right? Sex appeal placed on how to appeal to the masses, right? Uh, Beauty standards. We have products that says use this so you can be more beautiful. Take this diet pill so you can be thinner. Right? And so this kind of the European beauty standard doesn't align with so many of us, but especially Black and brown folks, right? Because our bodies aren't even, many of our body types don't even align with the thinness that they are pushing. And so imagine, all of those, and then recognizing that even as small or as thin as I could get, my bones don't even work like that, right? Genetically, my body is not even framed like that. And so there's a balance. There's always a balance. And so let's talk about what's influencing um, many of us. And this changes person to person, generation to a generation, but we recognize that society is pretty consistent, right? A big factor is being teased or bullied as a child surrounding how you look. We all recognizing that a lot of our um, mental health experiences, not just mental health, right, but a lot of our childhood experiences that may have transferred into mental health issues or just simply difficult experiences start from when we were young, right? And so if we come into certain spaces as a child and we are immediately ridiculed for how we look, we internalize that. Children are very impressionable, right? And they learn from the people around them. And so if that's one of your first experiences or early experiences, that's going to influence your overall self-image. It just is. So being bullied, um, being told you're ugly, too fat, too thin, um, or having other aspects of your appearance criticized, right? Your lips are too big, your nose is too big, your eyes are too big. Look at your ears, look at your hair, right? Having certain appearances kind of pointed out and critiqued will oftentimes impact your body image. Next, seeing images and messages in the media um, that make you feel as if you're not living up to that standard, right? Again, if the standard is thinness and you have a little meat on your bones, that's not going to make you feel beautiful. That's not going to make you feel as if you're a part, right, of the societal standard. It's going to make you feel ostracized and left out, right? So the media is a big thing. We got to do it. I think, look at you. I think this.
Yeah, let me stop you right there because this is not planned. I have a men's health magazine on my desk that I was reading right now with Jonathan Majors. Cut up. How does that make me feel? I'm gonna tell you.
That's a good
I'm
question.
reading this because I want to figure out how he did that. But like, that's an impact. That's a media influence that kind of got it. Not hating, but like when I saw that, I did 10 push-ups.
Mm.
I'm trying to get like that. But that is like what the media. That is what they're pushing. This is the image that like they want people to be like. Now, this dude got all the money in the world, and he's paid to work out.
Right.
Everyday person they can get like that. And so if we're trying to reach that and knowing that that is not a realistic goal, and we're trying to get that. We'll never get there. We'll never be satisfied. We'll never be happy. And that's from a man's point of view.
Yeah.
But and I thought that was important. That was not planned. This was just actually just here. I did not even have that as like a prop on the thing. It just spoke to me while you was like
talk,
you just mentioned
right?
it. Yeah.
You look to your left and you realize,
and I was like, but like, and look at the face. Like it's like he's in the corner of my eye. Like yeah. It's like, why are you talking like, oh my God.
You can't get away from it. That's what I'm saying, right? You cannot get away from these images, from these unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm happy to see a Black man on the cover. That's beautiful. Although it's still difficult to attain. I'm happy to see him as representation, right? But again, it still feeds into those societal expectations of this is what, if you look like me, if you come from, this is what we are expected to be. And it's like, who is expected? How? And granted, he did a lot of work to get in that shape. He was not
for sure
like that. So that's an investment. That's an expectation. I know he's doing Creed, so that was a big move for him to do. And if we were given millions to show up in a certain form,
you better believe
would show up. Yes, we would show up. So I say all that to say, like you were saying, like his incentives look very different from us, and the time, the money he's put out to do it, all that stuff. But thank you for sharing, Ray, because that's a vulnerable moment.
Yep.
The male steps up and says, like, I read these magazines, I see these images, and I am having a similar response to a lot of the women out there. So thank you for sharing, Ray.
No problem.
They're always there. Can't get away from it. Another one.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Having just simply being underweight, overweight, or obese, right? Depending on, we usually use the I think the BMI kind of scale and the doctor scale and all those things. That is always a question of like, who created this and what body types were you using to create this scale? And so something else, right? Okay. Public opinions. Like we said, having folks talk about ourselves, having folks talk about our own body image, all those perspectives, all those opinions, all of those things, right? And then lastly, our influence from our families, our communities. Think about certain nicknames you've had as a child. Did it highlight a weight? I call my dog Fatty. I don't think, I think his self-esteem is okay, but I would be more hesitant to say that to my daughter, right? Because how that may impact her self-esteem, right? And so even thinking of nicknames, comments that you heard, I'm telling you, personally, children don't forget it. Adults don't forget it. We hear everything. And it is our choice to internalize it or not. But if it's something that we've been hearing over and over and over, that's how we kind of inform our lives around truth, right? If I hear 30 times, 100 times, doesn't that make it true? So these are just examples of how we are influenced by our culture and by everyone around us.
That's interesting because there's a lot that we said before this, but I kept thinking about when you talk about the impact that it has on kids, and you just talked about nicknames, little chunky cheeks or whatever, and somebody grows up thinking they got chunky cheeks or whatever. But if before we go to this commercial break, just think about we all have insecurities, and try to think about the source, like where'd that come from, and it probably tracks back to even family members. Saying things, whether they say it with a smile, joking, or like in the schoolyard at school, and like those things have like manifest itself to older, to like now you have this insecurity or this bad body image when really we are exactly as we are. We're created beautifully and beautifully made. But just think about this. Just think about the source, and it tracks back. I guarantee you that it probably tracks back to your younger years and how that it manifested. It was planted then and just kind of just sprouted out. And
Yeah.
so when we get back, we're going to talk about how do we override that? How do we overcome that years and years of thought patterns that are negatively affecting you?
Yeah.
And then we'll also talk about some disorders and some of the things that kind of come from that. And so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back, and we'll get dive deeper into this topic.
Right.
We know how to treat the colds and the coughs. We know how to treat the bumps and the bruises, the cuts and fractures. But how do we treat, I can't afford a day off work to see a doctor? How do we treat, I've never had a doctor who speaks my language? How do we treat, I don't know how to connect with some of my patients? How do we treat, you're not listening? We can't treat what we cannot see. So we have to look closer and see what we're missing. People, patients, misdiagnosed, misunderstood, overlooked. These are the people left out of a system charged with helping them. And it's up to us to find them in our communities, in our relationships, in our data. We're meeting them where they are, discovering who they are. We're taking an honest look to understand their healthcare needs and delivering effective ways to reach them. We don't have all the answers, but together we can find the way to address the gaps in our healthcare system, to provide something better, to find more chances to save more lives. It won't be easy, but we can help make it right, because no one should be missed.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Healthy Doses. Today, Dr. Anderson and I are discussing body images and the impact that it has on our day-to-day, our daily lives, and how we operate. I do want to remind you before we jump into some of the disorders that come with body image, that if you want to communicate with us, if you want to let us know what your thoughts on the show, if you want to share some of your stories, ask a question, we're here for you. Scan that QR code right above Dr. Tiffany Anderson's head, or drop a line in a comment. I just wanted to give a shout out to a fellow who's apparently watching and enjoying the show. One of my good friends. I just wanted to give him a shout out. What up, homie? But yeah, just drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. So Dr. Anderson,
Yes.
we've been discussing this topic, how it's affecting us, but we really haven't dove into the disorders, and I think this is one of the most dangerous parts of one of the most dangerous negative parts of body image. And so can we talk about that and kind of how it affects us in that way?
Yes. And so with anything, right, it can turn into mental health issues and beyond, right, where there's a disorder. So let's normalize a few things. Body image, everyone has it. Everyone has it. Whether you recognize it or not, whether it's positive or negative, you know, it's just something a part, right, of our daily lives. Doesn't matter if you kind of tap into it or not, which is fine. But I say that to normalize and say that it's okay to have certain things you want to work on your body, or certain things that don't kind of align with what you want, right? I say that to say that's a normal experience because of the society in which we live, right? So everything doesn't have to change, like transform into a disorder. However, it can if we're not careful. If we start to change certain behaviors, if we start to restrict certain foods we're in an extreme caloric deficit. All those things can change into a disorder, right? So first want to normalize that having a body image and having an idea of what it is and having certain things you want to change, or, oh, I may want to lose weight. I may want to be more healthy. I may want to engage in more active exercises and activities. That's okay. That's okay. What I'm talking about are extremes, right? So one of the first, not first, depends on the person, but in regards to body image, we see a disorder called body dysmorphic disorder. So this disorder focuses on the individual that has imagined themselves as ugly in some way. So this individual with this disorder, they look at themselves in the mirror and it's grossly distorted, right? So it's a completely different view of what they're actually seeing, right? Again, that's why I say these are extremes. We can look in the mirror and say, ooh, I may want to lose a few pounds. Ooh, I may want to, but this is when you're looking in the mirror and you don't see the real you in the mirror. So oftentimes these individuals spend hours examining themselves, attempting to conceal or obsessing over their perceived flaws, right? Some folks also spend thousands of dollars on plastic surgery in an attempt to improve their bodies. And so I'm sure you can think of a few that you may see and say, woo, that seems extreme. That seems like a lot. They may be suffering from body dysmorphia, where what they see is not a representation of what they are and what they actually look like. So they're thriving, they're striving to change something according to what they see. Does it make sense, right?
Yeah, and actually, I have a question because you talked about, people might say you're beautiful and like you're like I'm ugly and like you don't see it. I wonder if can it go the other way? And let me tell you what I mean.
Mhm.
For those of you who haven't known me, beyond this show, I used to be 316 pounds. That was my heaviest. But
Mm,
even at the heaviest, I never really saw a 316-pound Ray.
mhm.
And I've been on a weight loss journey. I'm about 250 pounds now. But
Yeah,
like when I look back at pictures, I'm like, dang, like I was that big. Like
yeah.
that was like, I guess what I see now, I didn't see
Mhm.
then. And so is that a form of a body dysmorphic? Like I never saw it. Like I never thought I was that big.
Mhm.
I knew I was big. I could see the scale, right? Obviously. And so
Mhm.
like, but like just that person that I look at in pictures now, I don't think I saw when I was
And that-
at that size.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's a different. It seems like you just enjoyed yourself at your size.
but then I was on the right track, I think.
Yeah, it seems like, and we see that a lot though with even on the opposite, where it's like, oh, we see a picture from maybe like high school.
Yeah.
And a lot of us say, I thought I was big back then. And look how thin or look how toned I was compared to now. Right. So it's just like, it's a reminder to live and enjoy yourself in the moment. I'm telling you, because as years progress, things are going to change. Your body is going to change, and that's expected. I don't expect you to look the same in your 60s as you did in your 20s. What are we talking about, right? But if that is an expectation, good luck. Things are going to change. And so what we're finding is that people look years later and says, oh, I wish I would have enjoyed myself then. And that's a reminder for me to enjoy myself now. Because in 10 years, things are also going to change. And at least I can say, I enjoyed my 30s, I enjoyed my 40s, I enjoyed my 50s, and so on. And so, for you, Ray, it just sounds like you didn't see yourself in that moment. And I hear people say, like, why you didn't tell me? Like, I didn't know. Why didn't you tell? Because we thought you were beautiful in your skin. And so at least we're looking back and just saying, oh, we're healthier. I mean, I have that time definitely have those moments when I'm a little pregnant. But those moments back in my PhD program where I was very unhealthy, very stressed out, but I didn't know. Like you said, right? I didn't know until did my health journey. You look back, but there doesn't have to be shame or guilt or judgment around it. You just know better, so you do better. And
Yes,
that
ma'am.
sounds like what you did. So good job, Ray.
Yes, ma'am.
Good job. Good
And
job.
Dr. Anderson, I know we got a couple of other ones. Let's go through them.
Okay, real quick.
Mhm.
Sorry. And then so next we have anorexia nervosa, right? Sure, that's probably one of the most common ones that we hear. So this is characterized by extreme fear of gaining weight. So these individuals actually perceive their bodies as larger or fat, even though they are grossly underweight, right? So it's the opposite of um, sorry, my brain. So I was trying to compare it to Ray's story. No, because Ray didn't see himself as heavier. Yeah, so these folks see themselves as heavier, although they were extremely underweight. And understand, if you see yourself as, the language is fat, right? If you see yourself as fat, you're going to always be restricting. Sorry. With this disorder, not just in general, with this disorder, if you see yourself as fat, right, and you're trying to lose weight, you're going to always restrict your calories. But they don't realize that they are already underweight. And there's a slew of issues that come with being underweight. And it can be deadly. It can absolutely be deadly. Next, we have bulimia nervosa. These individuals are characterized by having, they are very dissatisfied with their bodies, right? And they have extreme concern with um, with their shape and their overall body type. So they tend to, um, you know, vomit. Um, sometimes oftentimes it's characterized with binge eating and then vomiting, right? And so again, that comes with a slew of health issues, obviously. And then another one, it's just the overall depression that we see with individuals, that it may not turn into a disorder. It may simply be um, individuals that with depression that often feel or have a distorted view of themselves and believe that they are less attractive than they really are. Yeah. So that's kind of how depression may show up with body image issues, is that they just simply don't believe they're as attractive as others. So they're constantly comparing and feeling less than. Um, Hence the maybe isolation, um, um, you know, avoiding certain activities that a lot of folks haven't gone, like swimming or taking off their jackets or wearing, you see folks that wear like long sleeves in the summertime, things like that, where they just may hide and conceal. But their overall issue is just feeling like they're just not attractive.
Dr. Anderson, I know we got a few moments left, but I really want to talk about, we talked about the effects, we talked about how it impacts us, we talked about the negative. Uh, how do we uh, how do we overcome these negative images? One of the questions from Othello came in, how do we mediate some of these effects of that? And so
Yeah.
let's start talking about some of the solutions. And really, I don't want to break people down without giving them the tools to build themselves back up. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing here. So how do we overcome? How do we combat the media influences that we have? How do we combat ourselves? How do we combat society? Like, what are the tools that we need to get to the point of, like you said, that Lizzo is at right now when we open the show? How do we get there?
Yeah. Well, first, I do want to just start with that idea of self love. You know, Something that has been helpful is um, recognizing how your body has gotten you to this very place. Um, we don't give our bodies enough attention and grace and appreciation that says, thank you. Thank you, right? Wade talked about his weight loss, right? But you're also talking about when you were at the heaviest, how your body still kept you moving and graceful, and you're doing football, and you know, all of these things, like being aware that your body has gotten you to this place, this very place, and that it is still pushing, and that recognizing that even when we don't take care of it, it still shows up for us. Yeah. So I need us to recognize that our bodies are our best friends, that they are doing very difficult work when we neglect them, right? When we criticize them, when we tear them down, they still show up for us. And so, even on a spiritual level, I want us to recognize and say thank you to our bodies. As I grow life in my womb, I want to say thank you to my body, right, for responding, for being so loving and so kind, and providing the nutrition that not only I need, but another life needs, right? So, that is a part of self love. That is a part of introspection and going in and recognizing that this very thing is not to be destroyed by us or by anyone, right? And so I just wanted to say that caveat. Check in with yourself and give yourself grace, and be grateful for what this body has done for us. Um, Next, a good one. It was talking about fighting fatism, right? And so that's that, idea when people are able to, if we're able to accept everyone for their shape and sizes, right? So for Lizzo, folks love her. They love her body. They love what she represents, right? They can look at her, see the back fat, the dimples she talked about, in her butt, in her thighs, all those things, and say, oh my God, that is beautiful. If we can do that for Lizzo, why can't we do that for ourselves? Right? How can we see someone else's body and say it's beautiful, but not our own, right? And so being able to accept others for who they are and what they look like also helps us to do the same for ourselves, right? So we can create a list of folks that we admire, that society wouldn't say has a perfect body, and then we can do that for ourselves, right? And say all the positives about our body, um, and move forward that way. Next, we have to be careful. We want to fight this diet culture, right? So, society in research shows that about 90% of women have dieted at one point of their lives, right? That still about 50% of women are currently dieting. There's statistics after statistics after statistics. Research shows by the time um, girls are 10 years old, 80% are already on a diet, right? Like it is wild, wild, wild.
I'm sorry, Dr. Anderson. What age did you just say?
10,
10.
10.
That's insane.
That's society. That is society. Yes, 10. That's already saying, oh, I can't eat that. That's carbs. Oh, I can't. Right? They already are aware. So we have to be careful with the diet culture. And again, lifestyle changes, beautiful. Being healthier, beautiful. But the diet culture, right? The one that says I can only eat this, or that is very strict. Just know that research shows that actually um, interrupts our moods in negative ways, right? When we see it or go on like certain commercials, or there's actually research showing that actually makes us feel worse, because of the diet culture, and it's just a reminder of what we're not doing, right? So we want to resist that, and we want to change it with more just healthy lifestyle changes, and not so much of this will cure it all. It will not. Um, it will not. Next, understand that your emotions are skin deep, right? So it's important to discover emotions and feelings that underlie the negative body image. Yes, your body is not what's causing the negative feelings, right? It's whatever you've created deep down that then reinforces your outlook of your body. Does that make sense? And so if you've already had negative experiences, we talked about childhood, bullying, teasing, whatever that is, right? Your body did not do that and it did not create that. So understand that being fat, being overweight, whatever, I am whatever, recognize that that's not an emotion, right? It's just disguising the emotion that you actually feel about yourself, right? So we have to get down to the core of the emotion and not just using your body as a punching bag. Yeah? Okay. Next, we want to quickly question these messages in the media. Okay? Those are not our reality. And it does make it a lot more confusing to us when we compare what we see and who we are. And oftentimes it doesn't align. And so the biggest thing is that you choose your own language for yourself and don't allow anyone to choose it for you. Next, we want to recognize the influence of body misperception, right? So women are naturally kind of more prone to negative feelings about their bodies compared to men. Again, this is according to research. But, you know, your body image is centered to how you feel about yourself, right? So if we recognize the misperception of how we feel about ourselves, we can actually create a new understanding to what that really is. So recognize the misperception and then give yourself new language around your body type and who you are. Earlier, I talked about kind of connecting back to your body. This just talks about becoming a friend to your body, right? It's important to combat negative body image because of what it can lead to: depression, social anxiety, self-consciousness, all those things, right? And so you want to get a new understanding of your body, right? Fall in love with it again. Start to recognize you do not have to compare yourself to other women or men, compare yourself to other men in the media and all those things, right? You just want to get back to who you are and what you know. Don't do it. Don't do it. And so again, we just want to avoid that comparison because it is the thief of joy, and we don't want to be a part of our own suffering. So those are the things. Avoid that comparison.
Dr. Anderson, we talked about a lot, and I do want to give you the floor. Well, you know what? Let's talk about, we just talked about all these tips that you just gave us, and those are all very, very good. Let's talk about what happens if I can't do this alone, right? And I have to come and I schedule an appointment and I got to come see Dr. Anderson. What does that look like? If when do I get to that point? When is it time to come see you? And then what does that look like? If we could talk about that quickly.
Just quickly, yeah. So we talked about how body image does influence a large part of our lives. And so if we find ourselves isolating, if we find ourselves with like social anxiety, like in certain environments, when we find ourselves with very low self-esteem, we see that a lot. Find ourselves still kind of being traumatized from maybe childhood experiences surrounding our body image, right? And just feeling really low and even depressed about our attractiveness, or depressed about how people may be perceiving us, oftentimes not feeling as if we're our authentic selves or we're wearing a mask, right? Some folks with body image issues or negative body image are the flashiest, best dressed individuals in the room, right? And so only you know, right? Only that individual knows how they feel inside. It does not mean, right? People don't look up to you. People don't love your fashion. people don't love your creativity. It does not mean that at all, right? So I just want us to be aware that when we feel as if we're not enough, or we feel as if who we are and it's not aligned, that is a great time to come in. And so treatment varies, especially if there's a disorder. If there's a disorder, you will go with someone that is trained, right, in that particular disorder, or body image stuff, anorexia nervosa. Those are like niches that folks are trained in. However, that overall kind of work that we do would look like, just first determining how one's negative body image impacts their everyday lives, right? So are they avoiding certain clothing, certain scenario, like certain, events or friendships or connections, right? And so we want to help these individuals connect back to their bodies, connect back to that sense of self-love, and also recognize the severity of the work. And we also want to encourage self-care, because oftentimes how you feel about yourselves, how we feel about ourselves represents how much we pour back into ourselves. So oftentimes individuals that struggle with negative body image may not be taking care of themselves. So a lot of the work is to encourage clients to practice self-care, and also to engage in activities that they have been neglecting due to their bodies.
Dr. Anderson, that's about all the time we got, and then
Right.
I feel like we needed to have this. We probably should have broke this up into two parts, and
Right.
we might do that, because there's still so much that like I still have on my notes that I know we haven't even touched. But then, throughout this show, there's things that echo in my head, and the thing that's been echoing is the quote by Malcolm X. Who taught you to hate yourself? And that made me even think, like, we've been talking about body image, size, features. We haven't even talked about race. Like, that's body image too.
Absolutely.
Right? How do you perceive yourself as, whatever ethnicity that you are? And so, like, that really just kind of sparked. I was like, I can't believe we didn't even think about it in that sense. But that is also part of it. And everything that we talked about, the tips, the cures, the habits to kind of help you, applies to that as well. But just think about this, and then I'll leave you guys with, is you control your narrative. Nobody can tell you what you're supposed to be. You are who you are. You are made beautifully, and you are beautifully made. Keep that in mind in all things. And that is your power. That is the power that you take back. That is your shield against everything that is thrown against you. You are who you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be it, and nobody else can tell you differently. That's a divine power. That is an internal power. So take that with you on your journeys forward, and don't let anybody tell you who or what you're supposed to be. Dr. Anderson, let's close us out.
Well, I thought that was a beautiful closing, Ray. So just real quick, everything that Ray said, but I going back to that divine self-love, right? And recognizing who you are. And even if you've had a lot of reminders that you're not enough, you get to determine if that is true, and that is something that you want to accept for yourself, right? I am a believer of changing the narrative. I, again, have personal stories, was bullied, all of those things throughout my life, right? And then, there's moments in your life where you say, you know what, no more, because I don't want to be a part of my own suffering. I think that's a big thing, because when folks pour in negativity, is the language I'm going to use, it's up to us to now do our own self-healing. A lot of times we don't ask for it, it's given to us, but then it becomes our responsibility to work through it, right? And so I'm just encouraging you all that even if someone gave it to you, you don't have to keep it. You can pour it out. Just don't pour it out on others. Do your own self-work, and to give what you always wanted to receive. And so next week, we will be covering overcoming fear and what that looks like. Because of this growing belly and baby that will come in the next 2-3 months. We will be having our last show on November 19th. And so I just wanted to let the audience know what that looks like, and that eventually will be coming to an end. But we are not done yet, so please join us next week at 11 a.m., and we can't wait to see you.
For more than 40 years, Boston Scientific has relied on our spirit of relentless innovation to advance science for life. We have the privilege and responsibility to deliver higher quality, less invasive, and more accessible device solutions, and the need has never been greater. Boston Scientific technologies are used to treat roughly 30 million patients around the world each year. Across our business, our products are supported by vast clinical data, including bench testing, randomized controlled trials, and ongoing real-world evidence to ensure the highest quality products make it into the hands of our customers. And we're always looking for ways to provide even more effective therapies and solutions. We invest over $1 billion annually in research and development to sustain a robust pipeline of meaningful innovations. We continuously strengthen our manufacturing and operations capabilities with artificial intelligence and advanced microelectronics to create devices that are smaller and smarter. And we're collaborating with our medical partners and physicians to advance digital capabilities with remote device support and a broad scope of training and education programs. Advancing science for life is also about supporting our employees and the communities in which we operate. Now more than ever, we rely on our values to guide our company as a global business and as a global corporate citizen. We're working to help confront healthcare inequities and social injustice, not only with financial contributions, but through volunteer service, advocacy, and expanding market accessibility. We're also focused on environmental initiatives that move us towards our goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2030. The unmet needs are great, but the future of healthcare is bright. Our innovation centers provide a place to explore opportunities, examine solutions, and see what lies ahead for medicine. Together, we can continue the relentless pursuit of innovation to help everyone live longer, healthier lives and make a difference all over the world.